Welcome to MSP Unplugged, episode number 58, Fun Security Awareness Training. I'm your host, Jeff Hallish. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Paco LeBron from Prodigy Techs. Paco, how are you doing?
Better than good, better than most. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing excellent. Good to see you. And we also have Nick Santora from Curricula. Nick, how you doing?
Jeff, thanks for having me. What a good radio voice you got going on here. I got to step the game up.
I appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and talk quickly. Well, not quickly. Take as much time as you want, Paco. Let's talk a little bit about TechCon Unplugged 2021.
Yes, my favorite topic to talk about. TechCon Unplugged 2021, our in-person event in September 17th through the 19th. We will be in Chicago, Rosemont area, and it's going to be a great time. For those that attended in 2019, we had a great time meeting with a lot of great vendors, a lot of people. We actually were able to press the flesh and just really got the ability to do something a little different, right? I think that we have so many trade shows and there's a lot of community feedback that we received while we were attending a lot of events beforehand, that there wasn't really a place for them, right? And that thus me having this crazy idea, throwing it to Jeff kicking and screaming as I drag him along, and we had a great event and everyone was happy about it. So we couldn't have it last year as we planned, but we are bringing it back this year. Ticket prices will be at $199, but what do you get for $199? Not only will we be able to take care of you food-wise, we'll make sure you're highly fed on our Friday and Saturday night socials, which Saturday night socials right now we're heading over to Dave & Buster's like we did in Grand Rapids. And again, all the food isn't going to be included. And then we're going to take care of you for breakfast and lunch during our sessions with our great vendors, which a lot of big input that we received is we wanted a lot more vendors. So I'm happy to announce that we do, as of right now, have more vendors than we had in 2019. And it's a great mix of returning vendors that we had back then and new vendors that have signed on. So it's going to be a great show. I'm fingers crossed. I'm going to have that website updated here in the next week or two. I keep saying this every week, but I promise I will get that going, or you will all have to send hate mail over to Matt Rodella, who's helping us with our website. So if he gets email and he doesn't understand why he's getting it, I'm sure he'll poke me and figure that out. So, but anyway, again, September 17th to the 19th over in Rosemont, Illinois. Get your tickets now. Hotel prices are very cheap, and we also negotiated to having free parking, which in Chicago, that's an unheard thing, as everyone knows from going to some events that we've had in the past. But again, if you're interested, TechConUnplugged.com, and we'll hopefully see you there.
I was going to add, even if you're not interested, sign up anyways and come on along. It's going to be a great time. All right, let's go ahead and Nick, let's talk a little bit about your background, where you came from and how you got to be doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, quick background where I came from was on the regulatory side of the fence for an agency called NERC. It's the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. A lot easier to say NERC. They are the regulator for the power grid in North America. So if you think of kind of the IRS regulates the tax stuff that we do, NERC regulates how all of the electrical infrastructure in North America works. When you flick the light switch on, you expect it to turn on. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on legally and operationally to make that happen. So I spent about 7 years there working at NERC from all the way I grew up in New Jersey, so I was originally in Princeton, New Jersey area, and traveled a lot, did everything with cybersecurity related to the power grid and trying to get the bad guys to stay out and trying to teach utilities and their management teams on how it's going to happen. So from there, it was kind of, it's kind of like working for the IRS where like, a lot of stuff that you probably shouldn't know, and you see some really scary things and you get to kind of see the pulse of the industry. And that's originally where the idea of Curricula came to be, was born out of my NERC background.
That's pretty cool. And it sounds, I can see the correlation because nerd. I mean, it all goes together as far as, between the two relevant subjects. So that's a great origin story, by the way. And it's funny how most businesses are like this. They get created out of what we see in the marketplace that is lacking. in the problems that we see. So we try to create a solution, we create that solution, and then other people are interested in the solution, and we go ahead and let them have a piece of that so that they can be also helped too. And in the end, everybody wins. So I love those types of stories. When we talk about Curricula and what it is and what it does, we talked about in the beginning, we said, fun security awareness training. Now, the word fun and security awareness training really do not belong together, but I think you guys have come up with a solution that is going to make it fun and entertaining and engaging to people. So let's talk a little bit about that, what Curricula is and what it does for the end user.
It'll a good transition out of the origin story too. I'm like, well, what is it? How did it come to be? Well, from doing all of that, right, the industry has to follow these really rigid set of boring cybersecurity laws written by lawyers in the industry on how to protect the power grid. So probably the most boring thing you can think of in words. And how do you get employees and everyone to understand this stuff when there's a potential to get fined $1 million per day per violation in that industry for not following those regulations? So when I would fly around and I'd be Marriott Mega Platinum, staying in hotels and basically living on the road, I'd see all these different varieties of cybersecurity programs that are here to protect our grid and some really, really important stuff. But when it came time to teaching all of the employees about this complex stuff, it was Sally or Michael from HR slapping together some PowerPoints and hoping that everyone didn't mess up. And it was insane to me. So that's where the idea came from, was like, well, how do we translate all this boring legal jargon into something people get? And how do we do it for a very specific set of potential customers, which are utilities in North America on a very specific regulation? So the scope was extremely narrow on the problem we were out to solve. And ultimately what we landed on was, it's not a lack of information that's out there. All of this stuff is public. It's how we deliver that information to people. So my background, knowing cybersecurity really well, attaining my CISSP and CISA and all the accreditations behind me, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm also not an artist, right? I can't figure out other ways to kind of bring this to life other than telling stories. So on the other side, our other founders did come from that background. They are artists and creative people. So they worked on brand campaigns and marketing for huge organizations, for Nike and Disney and everything else, to make experiences come to life. And I figured, man, if we could just marry those two things together, expertise in cyber and the experience, bam, now we got something. So that is originally how we started with the highest regulated utilities in North America. Very quickly, we realized what we're doing will apply to the masses. So we built this on the idea of teaching NERC SIP, is the compliance regulation, as the first kind of product or focus. And along the way, we realized, well, everyone's got to do security awareness for all of their employees. Can we expand the topics to that? And we slowly started doing that and building software behind it. And it's just crazy what it's turned into today. Curricula is essentially, if you think of it as a bigger mission, is designed to build a culture of security in an organization by using storytelling. And what that means is that every company wants to have smart employees. Everyone. There's no one out there that says, I really hope my employees click things and make mistakes today. Like, absolutely no one. So if we all believe and we want better employees, we want less problems, we want to reduce risk, well, then we got to get employees to buy into that with us. And in the past decade, 2 decades, when you hear the word training, it's like, it's got a very negative connotation. You hear training, you immediately get angry and you get upset and you say, this is going to be a waste. And you think of death by PowerPoint and you figure out, can I call in sick? And is there a way I could just do this fast? And we've done that to ourselves in this industry. And the industry and the ones that are the vendors in that industry kind of fell asleep at the wheel there because, hey, check the box for compliance. I can just deliver this stuff out and people will keep buying it. Well, we're coming to a turning point, I think, in the entire industry where we recognize that employees need to do better and they need to learn and apply those concepts not only at work, but at home. So we need to kind of communicate to them the way that modern communication works with videos and stuff that's relatable rather than just 75 PowerPoint slides with a quiz at the end. It's a waste of time, and it checks the box for compliance, but moves it forward. So for our mission of solving that, of building a worldwide security culture, we have a lot of fun with it. We kind of call it the candy coating your vegetables for employees, that we got to feed them some good nutrition, but we're going to put a little candy coat on it with heroes and villains and stories that live inside of our software that you can use to help educate employees on very important topics in a way that it feels like they're having fun along the way.
That is great. Paco, I was going to say, when you're thinking about security awareness and thinking about your employees that do stupid things, because, I know everybody's not just your employees, but employees for the customers that you take care of. I know at the end of the day, people don't mean to do stupid things. It's just they're not aware. So when you've dealt with this problem in the past, when you've dealt with this problem in the past, I mean, what are some of the hurdles and things that you have to go through in order to get your customers to understand what they're not supposed to do?
So I think, kind of going a little bit back, right? I think, for a lot of us being managed service providers, IT business owners, et cetera, trying to educate our clients just on a technology aspect of it, we tend to go in the weeds way too much, right? And we talk in these technical terms, and there are a lot of us that can translate that to regular conversation, analogies to help drive the point across. But then there's a lot of us that can't, right? And you just can't get out of that, which is why you want to leverage either other people or other tools, right? To be able to handle that piece. Now, getting clients and employees to adopt security awareness training, I think there's a good friend of mine that likes to say, I'd rather stick a fork in my eye or two forks in my eyes to try and get them to do it, because there's several reasons, right? There's the adoption, is how do you deliver a security awareness training to your clients, right? And understanding that, there is work on the IT business owner's end to set it up, explain what the process is going to be to the owner / office manager, what are going to be the gauging factors, providing a report after the fact and delivering all that type of deal if you don't have a proper center or system to do it. And then the other piece is just the content itself. There are a lot of security awareness training softwares and systems out there, but they're just awfully very boring, is the best way I could say it. Because I was going to say something else, but I can't. But and it's hard to gain your clients and people's attention in general, rather than trying to have them forced to do security awareness training, right? Now, it's achievable when you have systems like these that make it more enjoyable and make it in bite sizes and the topic and things like that. Or just trying to follow around a little girl that causes havoc named Dee Dee. Or is it Dee, Nick? I can't recall. Dee Dee, yes. Dee Dee, yeah. You have Dee Dee running around causing havoc, and understanding and making that piece of, wow, that's pretty messed up. I got to make sure that doesn't happen. When you get the employee or the person looking at it like, I'm not going to make sure that happens to me, that's when it's impactful. That's when it hits home. That's when it gets to stick with them, right? And then I think a lot of people misunderstand that security awareness is a repetitive thing. It's like showering. You can't just do it once and then that's it, right? You got to keep on doing it. It's a repetitive nature. You got to help continue those education pieces, because one, new things may happen, or B, it's just good to have a refresher because you just got comfortable with the way you were doing things, or you didn't remember a lot of things you were supposed to do after taking the training. After X amount of months, a new employee is doing something that they probably shouldn't. You watch the video again. Oh yeah, I got to make sure I tell Bob that he's got to stop leaving the door unlocked because when he goes to the bathroom, things like that, right? So yeah, it's rough when you don't have the support and the right system, but you got to know your clients too, right? You got to understand how you're going to be able to deliver this. But I mean, it is now becoming a necessity especially with a lot of small businesses insurances, renewals and things of that nature, asking about this and providing proof, right? And that's the biggest piece.
So Nick, from your standpoint, when you look at a business trying to set up some security awareness training, what's the amount of time that a business owner, because there's a lot of single business owners that basically are running their MSP, IT consultant shops, whatever. And then there's ones that obviously have employees and stuff like that. So what's the buy-in as far as time-wise of getting people started and getting that security awareness training to the end client?
Yeah, a couple of good things and a couple good things from Paco too. There is to rewind on that whole like people make mistakes, right? We tend to call them stupid, and we kind of advocate against that because we have we're pretty strong on ethics statements. We have a public ethics statement on our website about don't do these things because. Think of it, for example, for taxes, right? Your tax advisor isn't going to call you stupid because he didn't know the rules on taxes. So we kind of got to look at employees that same way. It's like they just don't know a lot of these things that we kind of take for granted that we all should know. And it's our job, almost like treating children, right? If a child was falling behind in school, we don't call them stupid idiots. We say, they need more help. Let's give them more attention. Let's put them in special programs until they get better, and we have an actual conversation about that. I think we just need to move towards that type of world, and with that, there's tools like us that make that conversation a little bit more palatable. So, from the research and conversation, I'm sure you can talk to all the MSPs in this industry. I mean, a lot of times that is kind of the big lift. Is like, man, this thing takes so long to set up. We've heard 10 hours of management per customer per month to manage because of all the heartache and buttons and bells and whistles and clunkiness. It's like no one has time for that. No one wants to do that. So for Curricula, what we pride ourselves on is that we take about 15 minutes to set up from beginning to your entire program for the year. So that's syncing with a directory service provider like Okta, Google, Microsoft to automate employee injection, to build your phishing templates, to creating your security awareness schedule. Bop, 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 couple clicks, sign it up, hit go. The entire program now is self-service with reminders going out, notifications, reports, everything that you need done without having to spend the 10 hours a month in another tool. It's absurd. So that's the first one, and then fun. So those are our two kind of major things. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, in a lot of managed service providers' eyes, like, hey, they're going to use whatever I buy, right? And we've heard this over and over. It doesn't matter whatever brand I buy, they're using because that's the relationship I have. And we feel that not only there should be choice on the customer's point of view, but choice from the MSP now, that they don't have to use the one vendor that's out there doing this. They have a lot of choices to make. And in order to have the customer not hate you for the products you give them, you do your diligence to give them good products and good services so they actually look up to you and say, these guys know what they're doing. They give me some really good stuff and good advice. Security awareness is one of those things where it's just buy whatever the vendor is, check the box real quick and just push it out. And everyone hates it. And it's putting a bad taste into customers' mouths. So we want to sweeten up that taste again and say, let's get a different program in place that gets your customers to respect you a lot on the education that you're giving them, because now you're a reflection of how all their employees look at you, because we're kind of the backbone of that communication. They're having fun, you're putting smiles on their faces, they're dancing around, playing with the characters and stuff, and it becomes more of a memorable experience on security awareness rather than just a, let's check the box and get it done because a compliance policy said we had to do it.
I think what you said there too is a memorable experience, which I think is very key because, like you said, a lot of times when we're doing PowerPoints and all these different types of security awareness training, the problem is nobody remembers that stuff. It's almost like going to college. They say most college graduates could not pass their final exam 6 months after being out of school. Well, think about it in the workforce. Think about how many years people sit there and they've got to go through these programs maybe once a year or something like that. And they're not going to remember it probably a month down the road. And let's be honest, when it comes to the things that are out there, as far as the cybersecurity and all that kind of stuff in the Ethernet, basically, when you look at those things, they're becoming more and more prevalent, and they're becoming more and more tricky, which they even get people like myself to sit there and pause and go, oh, did I pay my XYZ bill? Or what's UPS sending me today? And I actually have to sit there and think about it, which a lot of people, when they're in a work environment, are not going to sit there and think about that. So they're not going to remember the PowerPoint that they had a few months before, because they're going to go, there's click, 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 click. You know, when somebody installs a piece of software, that's all they do. Yes, 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 yes. Now it gets irritating from our standpoint, because a lot of times when my customers are installing remote software, I tell them, yes, just accept everything and hit go, please. Just come on. You're going to ask me every question that pops up. Am I supposed to do that? No, because anyways, long story short. So I think from that point, we have to have something that's memorable. And I think when you bring the fun aspect into it, Nick, that is going to solidify it in people's minds. And also, like what Paco said earlier about repetition. Here's the thing. When it comes to repetition, in the past, I used to think, well, I don't want to repeat myself all the time. And then I finally figured out that people don't hear you the first 6 times that you tell them something. They might remember a little bit from the 7th time, and so on and so forth down the road. So I think those things are having a constant awareness and a constant ability to help your end client remember the things that happen. I think that is so key. And I like things that are new and groundbreaking, as far as being able to help people remember and do the right things, or at least cause them to pause and go, wait a minute, I remember seeing something on this. I probably either need to ask the question or not click on that thing at this particular time.
Yeah, it's we always use the gym example. So if you hire me as your fitness coach and say, hey, Nick, you're going to help me become a healthy person. And I go in, all right, you know what we're going to do? Run on this treadmill as fast as you can for 30 minutes, eat a salad real quick after, and then lift every single weight in the gym real fast. And I'll see you next year. You'd be like, Nick, you're the worst health coach in the entire world. Like,
absolutely.
What am I paying for? Like, this is insane. We literally do that with security awareness. We say, stuff all this information down their throats, put all these things, checklist, blah, 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 get them to sign the thing, and then see you next year for your annual training. That's insane. And I think if we recognize that, it's almost like poor man's efforts is going to get poor man's results. So we need to recognize, if we want the results, we got to put in the work. And we got to make a program that's holistic to little bite-sized pieces, monthly commitments to progress, rather than trying to just achieve the stars, where in everyone's eyes, achieving the stars is like, never get hacked, never have a mistake, never have anyone click anything. It's unachievable. So if we don't have those expectations, and we communicate the expectations to everyone, that like this takes time and effort to build a culture, you'll get there. But it's not easy, and it's not easy to do if you don't have a support team or expertise to give you that guidance.
Well, I think at the end of the day, there's nothing that we could put together from our standpoint of being able to get that information across, because again, we're out there doing what we do best. And it's better to leave somebody else that is their sole criteria, that's their sole thing that they're doing, and they're the experts at it, to be able to pass that message along. And to be honest with you, I think even from a business owner's standpoint, these things are probably great for us because they're great reminders. Even though we think we know a lot of stuff, and we probably do, there's always room for improvement. There's always ways to improve yourself and what you do on a daily basis. Plus, if you're learning the stuff, you can pass that information along, and everybody is on the same playing field at that point. And I think that's really key when you're talking about things like cybersecurity and security awareness training, or what we call, eat your own dog food. Basically, whatever you're using in your own environment is what you need to be using for your clients, because you know it best. Don't use something different than what you're going to supply for your clients. It doesn't make any sense.
Call it drinking the Curricula champagne.
There you go.
Drinking our own champagne. They're like, that's a better one than the dog food, I guess. More relevant.
That's true. I'm a little bit old. I admit it. Okay, I've got older analogies. I'm sorry, but
A little bit. No, I'm kidding.
Ouch.
Kidding.
Compared to everybody on this call, yes, probably. Probably a little more than a little bit.
There is a lot of science behind what we do too. You're right. Like, there's no way someone can spend the amount of effort, time of doing what we do if it's not their full-time business. And we have an in-house creative team that literally builds everything from what we're going to talk about, the data points that need to be collected, the information that needs to be articulated. Then we go and figure out a story. So we actually get together and we do a brain writing session, which is essentially around creating those topics, coming up with quick ideas, and then pitching them, kind of like what you see on TV, like marketing people pitch ideas. From there, that turns into a full narrative, which turns into a storyboard, an asset list with characters, scenes get drawn up, characters, custom music gets created for it, voice acting. Like, I mean, it's a production, a full, like making a cartoon goes into one 5-minute episode. And what comes out on the other end is the results of an employee saying, man, I am never going to do that again, because that just happened to, Frank just got hit with a business email compromise attack and his assistant just wired over $1 million to someone. So that's never going to happen here. And now they use that story as leverage to communicate inside the company without anyone telling them to do it. It's just kind of part of, like, you watch your favorite Netflix series or HBO or whatever streaming service comes up, and we watch a show and then we all talk about it. Did you watch Game of Thrones? Did you watch Rick and Morty or whatever the shows are? And you have a conversation about what you all participated in. And that's kind of what happens with our customers, is that the employees will watch these episodes and have their favorite scenes, characters. We throw little jokes in there all the time. Jokes for IT people are in there. And it's funny to see the Easter eggs that people recognize. And they're like, did you see that? And people go, no. And then they have full-blown conversations about this and talk about it. They even have Slack channels dedicated to some of these characters that people are sharing. It's nuts, but it's like, this is the stuff that happens when you have a program that is that bought in from a company culture.
And you know what's even more funnier? Or like, a lot of people just don't know how much goes into animation. Right. Like, I think that just that whole process alone, and this is probably something new Jeff doesn't even know, but I used to actually way back, I don't even know, like over 20 years ago, I actually was a partner of a guy who did an animation company. So we actually ended up doing a whole gambit of things, animated videos for like music videos and stuff like that. And it's amazing on just the amount of time for just you to get the motion, let alone to storyboard, to get the characters, to develop the personality, to incorporate all that, and then bringing it all together. Although you see the final product, as you mentioned, is just a couple of minutes, but the amount of time that it took for that just emphasizes on how much care is being taken onto a product like that. Because if it's fun and it's impacting and you're talking about it, there's a lot of effort that's going into that, and there's a lot of information that you may not get elsewhere in that same type of media that you're trying to watch.
Yeah, we almost call like the Curricula cinematic universe, where it's like all these stories tie together. So what you see in one episode is kind of like a teaser or a background from another episode. Like, oh, that's what caused the breach in the Wi-Fi one, or like, oh man, that's going to happen in the next one. And you can kind of see all this stuff start to play together, and it gets people, from a customer point of view. The employees are literally, we hear this a lot, where they look forward to the next episode or training that comes their way. When have you ever heard that in any type of world about training? It's just not a thing. No one likes training. Because of the candy coating of the vegetables and the approach we've taken, we've been able to kind of get people to think a little bit differently about this whole thing.
So when we're talking about things like, and I would call these probably cartoon shorts or something like that, what is the typical length of these videos that people are watching? And what's kind of let's talk about that first. What's the typical length that you guys do on some of these, feature animations?
Yeah, so each episode is about, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes long, depending on the type of episode, and it's kind of this little experience. So let's walk through the phishing episode, for example. This is where you get to meet Dee Dee. So Dee Dee is our 5-year-old villain hacker. She is the claim to fame, like our Mickey Mouse. She is the villain that you hate, but you love her because she's cute. She's pretty brutal. She beats up on a lot of people in her tools. So in that episode, you watch Dee Dee on a little journey. So you kind of go in, there's this interaction of getting inside of an episode that's delivered to you, and then you're kind of walk through this narrative of what this topic's going to be about, why it's important, like why it matters in the big scheme of things. And then we break out videos along the way. So you'll see the teaser. Like, so Dee Dee in this episode, she goes to get ice cream at the park. She's flying her drone around at the beginning of the episode while everyone else is flying kites. Her drone's like knocking kites out of the sky and stuff. And then she sees ice cream. I'm going to go get ice cream. And she walks over to it. Right when she gets there, the guy runs out of ice cream. He's like, oops, sorry. Dee Dee loses it, gets super upset. And now she says, I am going to go hack this ice cream company now. So it's one of those things where it's kind of a silly setup, but the whole goal is like hackers do weird things for any reason. This one is because they ran out of ice cream. So now as you're walking through it, we're also asking context behavior questions. So it's not just a bunch of videos and quizzes at the end. It's along the journey. We're saying, what was Dee Dee doing in the park? And if you're an employee, you get presented with that question. If you didn't watch that video, you don't know what's going on. And our scoring algorithm will weigh certain questions in certain ways to know if you're paying attention or not. So if you get that one wrong, you're essentially going to fail the entire episode because we know you're just screwing around in there. But as you kind of uncover the rest of the journey, you're starting to see the story unfold, and it gets you excited because it's just like watching a TV show. You want to see what happens. And anyway, Dee Dee does some bad stuff to the Moo Moo's ice cream company, and you'll have to watch it to see the rest.
Oh, and she did some stuff.
But I think that's great because, and I love how you guys actually put that in there to make sure something so simplistic to make sure that the employee was actually watching the video and paying attention. Something simple, not hard. Anybody could, all they had to do was watch it and they could see right from the beginning what she was doing and answer that question. But if not, then you know somebody just had it on in the background and was doing whatever. So that's awesome. I love that. It's kind of a way to keep track without, you know, necessarily being like, you got to remember exactly what exactly happened at minute, you know, 234 or whatever. And, you know, that would be a little more difficult. So when it comes to obviously you have the videos and you've got all this, this way to put this information in front of the employees and make it fun and leaving those, like you said, the cliffhangers where you're, oh, what happens next? I need to see what happens next. And you're creating interest, which that's something unique because I don't think a lot of people, when they think about cybersecurity or security awareness training, are thinking, hey, let me create something that will leave you with a cliffhanger where I gotta want to watch what's next, what comes up next. And therefore, I think a lot of times too, when people are doing that, they're paying more attention to what's happening around them. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's consistency. So,
yes,
you know, when you go watch a Marvel movie, right, you kind of know what to expect. It's cool. It's got high production value. There's characters. They got deep stories. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. When you look at a lot of the other vendors in the space that are doing this stuff, they're just buying a bunch of crap off the shelf from other vendors, stuffing it all in. And it reminds me of like, it's almost like a McDonald's employee trying to sell a Ferrari to you. And then the next day it's like a Honda salesperson trying to sell you a computer. It's like the messaging is just so bizarrely off every time I'm receiving something. So with Curricula, it's all part of this one universe where the themes, the branding, the messaging is so consistent where you kind of know what to expect with us when you're learning. And it's done in a certain kind of style and theme where it's very patternistic of what's coming. And because of that, there's a little bit of predictability from the employee of like, it's not going to be another 90 slide PowerPoint that they didn't expect. It's like, Oh man, I know exactly what's coming. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what I'm going to learn about next.
That's great. So Paco, obviously, it sounds like you've watched some of these videos, and
I have.
and it looks like you're pretty excited about them. So messaging that's coming across, I mean, obviously, it's making sense to where people, I haven't watched any of them personally, so I can't weigh in on this. But since you have, what are some of the key points that you pulled away from the videos that you've watched so far?
Well, I'll probably explain it in a sense where, like, I've gone through quite a few security awareness training systems, right? And I have implemented a few security awareness training systems to clients. And I think for anybody, like you said, we kind of have to go through it ourselves to see if it's even, can we see our clients doing it, right? So I can say that, there are some security awareness training systems where the content is there, but it's just, again, very boring. Like it's very dry. There's no attention grabbing. It's a bunch of slides, and then you have your questions at the end, right? It's not very interactive. Whereas there are some that do provide you with entertaining content, but then again, the questions are at the end. So you're hitting next, etc. Where this system has a little bit of a difference is, again, exactly like what Nick said, is that you have an interactive choose your own mission type situation as you're going through the process, right? And through these particular shots, because exactly like how Nick said, like in the beginning, if you're not paying attention to that first initial clip, and exactly, it's literally Didi flying a drone, messing with kites, goes to the flying kites that other kids are flying, goes to the ice cream truck, ran out of complete ice cream. For someone who's like, why is this even part of the security awareness training? And they're just doing something else, then that makes it even more important to understand that it's not really the content, it's really the person just doesn't really have an invested interest in doing that, right? And that's how you can take that as an employer. We're like, look, we've come out with a system that we feel is pretty entertaining, has a lot of value for what you need. It adheres to what you require, your insurance requires, that you ask us, hey, can we sign this piece of paper that says, has my employees have security awareness training? Your employee just doesn't care. So either A, you're going to have to talk to him or her to see if you want to be involved, or B, if she's not paying attention to a video, what else is she not paying attention to, right? And especially when it comes to security, things of that nature. And it's not like you're forcing it on them either, right? So I think that, with this particular system, it was very entertaining. Again, I ran through it all. A few of the clips, I was like, I'm trying to see where they're going to lead with this. And then as you continue to keep going through, you understand what the story is, right? And what they're trying to teach you of, like, what not to do. But again, it goes back to having that impact, right? Like, I remember that story, right? I remember I remember the whole, like, man, I get, like, you remember those things. And it's not, and it's a popular saying that they say is that you don't remember what people say to you, you remember how people made you feel. And you remember those emotions as it goes through. And as you go through this, there's a lot of hilarity. There's a lot of shock factor. I mean, it's, and I may be making it sound like this grand thing, but it's really an entertaining platform just in general that you're getting a lot of value from, right? And I think that having them in those bite-sized chunks is what really will help you as you get forward on your mission on security awareness training. And it's a great value add. I mean, I think that, for a lot of us that have, an all-inclusive managed services agreement, you should be having a security awareness training anyway in your package, right? And if you're doing this manually, what's a couple bucks, however much to try and add it per user. And then, I'm sure Nick will go into more about the partner program that is available to the channel, but it's, you owe it to yourself and your employees along with your clients to really be that, and I know it's a phrase we hate to say because it's so overused, that trusted advisor, right? Like, you have to be the one to explain what's going on, because what they don't know is what they don't know. And if you get to a point where you're just hoping for the best and, hey, give me a check every month, that's how MSPs get fired, Like they just are not invested in a company in that realm, right? And when a client knows you care, they're going to stick with you for a long time.
Good wisdom on the quote there, because that, how people make you feel, not what they say. And same thing here is like good security awareness programs basically reflect on what the employees are going to do when you're not looking. So you could run them through all this cool stuff, but it's like when you're out of the Curricula platform or any other training, you want them to do the things that you expect them to do. And the only way to do that is get them to truly buy into it emotionally, to cap off kind of just what the tool is all about, where we see kind of the dots all get connected is on the phishing simulation side. So inside the platform also has the integrated phishing simulator. Hey, they all do the same thing, right? They send out emails, they track people who click, blah, 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 blah. Well, that experience is also gamified. So instead of getting caught by just an email and then having to go through some boring remedial training with someone from 40 years ago talking about their criminal days of being a criminal, which we all know that no one cares about, well, why don't we make it relatable to the employee? And same thing that we talked about with Didi kind of being the face. Well, when you get caught by a phishing test, you get caught by Didi. So a video pops up, she's on the screen, I got you. This is part of a test. I put you in my little machine. You watch a video of her stamping you on her wall of phishing victims. And now it's like, son of a gun, Didi just got me. I am never going to have that happen again. And now people start talking about Didi as the face to the experience. And now you can actually do reporting of Didi. So when you see phishing emails that might look fishy and think they're one of Didi's tests, you could actually report Didi to your mailbox inside of our app as we connect to one of your groups or distribution lists. And if it's one of our tests, then Didi will send you a message back as an employee saying, you got me, nice job, keep on your toes, but I'm gonna try to get you next time. And that little experience on how it feels as an employee is the difference. That's the difference of getting employees to actually report real phish stuff to your IT and security teams and MSP versus them staying silent because they feel like they're gonna get in trouble because they might click on something and they always get yelled at for doing it. It's like, we've got to change that game, because if we can get IT and employees to talk to each other and feel open about stuff, well, heck, we could prevent a lot of stuff from happening if we can have them actually just be trusting of us as someone here to help rather than just someone to yell at them.
Yeah, we don't ever want to be that person that's just out to get somebody else, because that doesn't last. Again, Paco was saying about, how people make you feel, and that goes a long way. Negative context like that people will have less they care about. They're like, whatever. I'm working 9 to 5 and whatever happens. I'm not the business owner, so I'm not responsible. But if you can get people with a buy-in, and, I love that you guys gamified it, because that's so cool that you have something that's interactive. And I think that goes a long way, because instead of just going, hey, there's a report, and then you've got some sort of supervisor or boss coming to the desk going, hey, listen, you clicked on this email, you shouldn't have done that. What are we going to do about? Okay, now you got to watch this. You got to watch this 45-minute boring video. That employee's just going, okay, you just ruined my whole day. Thanks for that, and you suck. So.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a crappy experience. And if you look at the emotional intelligence of what we've been doing to our employees over the past, 4 or 5 years since phishing simulations have become popular, we're just doing it without understanding the repercussions, and we think we're making our employees better. And in some way it is, right? I mean, at some point doing something's better than doing nothing, but the long-term effects of not only from the vendors that will sustain, but the ones that are going to get most customers to actually appreciate them are the ones that are caring about their employees. The ones that are caring about, is this making my employees and my entire company culture sour, or is this getting them to actually be on my side? And right now, when you get hit by a phishing test, and we interview a lot of employees about this stuff, is they feel really bad when they get caught. They feel insulted. They feel a lot of distrust against their organization. They get upset. They, say, what else are they doing behind my back? And it's just like, do you really want to have that type of relationship with employees to MSP or employees to customer? I mean, No one does. But this tool and this process is what's causing that.
And you don't want to be GoDaddy offering year-end bonuses and then turn out as a phishing test scam.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I
Yep.
do remember that. That's rough.
Yes.
That is rough. So, well, obviously, there's a lot of good content in different things that we've talked about today. As far as I love the phishing tests, and I love that you guys are creating, content and stuff like that. Now, obviously, the landscape is changing a little bit, and I'm sure that this is a great time for you guys because there are a lot of people that have had to move from the office to work from home. And I think a lot of times, from our standpoint, that's a way more dangerous environment because we don't control the equipment, things going in and out. And so there might be more stuff that's coming down the pike if we can't lock those residences down. And the other thing is a lot of people are going to continue to work from home. The percentages are going to go up. They're going to stay there because a lot of companies have figured out that they can have certain employees work from home and get rid of office space and save a ton of money. So they're going to start doing that, whether, we like it or not. And then I've heard the other side too, where some employees just can't work from home because they can't control themselves. But so I'm sure that happens across. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Another old saying, Paco. Anyways, so with a lot of that being said, you got a lot of things going on there, and we're talking about, obviously you've got this character you've created, and I think it's so cool because you've created albeit might be a little intimidating, but you didn't make it intimidating like this kid in a hoodie or this old guy with this old gray beard with a hoodie sitting in his mom's basement, hacking you, which for some reason a lot of people think that that's a real thing, but whatever. It's not. But from that standpoint, when we're looking at this platform, can you walk us through the process of how would a company or how would a MSP or IT consultant, how would they get started, and what would it look like as far as getting into the training process and getting their customers set up? What things could they look forward to and be able to use right away?
Yeah. And on that whole thing about like making a less intimidating, non-stereotypical version, I think that's something that at a trade show, we actually had one of our competitors call us out on. Kudos. She was just a sales rep saying like, our training sucks because it's all white males and it's written as an IT person. And our training is very diverse. I mean, if you look at the character sets, the heroes, the villains, all of these people have different backgrounds. Our whole team has different backgrounds. So that's what makes it special, where it's coming through a multi-channel voice rather than just coming from like an IT expert voice is something that we appreciate. I think our customers appreciate a lot. As far as getting started and kind of what the platform is all about, so we're really transparent on a lot of stuff. Our pricing is all public. Our channel partner program details are all public. So if you go to curricula.com, up at the top, there's a partners tab, curricula.com/partners. That talks about what the channel program entails as an MSP. So we kind of gamified that process too. So the way we look at it is a channel dashboard that we have is a single pane of glass, lets you manage all of your customers. You even have a little sandbox to play around with, to demo and test things out. But basically each plan we have two plans, a professional and an enterprise, with two different feature sets, and they're all publicly listed there. And those are billed monthly for the MRR equation for MSPs. So, add one at a time, whatever you need along the way. And inside of those plans, they come with different things. You can see it on the site, but mostly to get started, it's hitting up that channel partner page. We'll connect with you. And really, we want to learn about your business. So who runs it? Who's on top of it? Who accesses this? Are you using another vendor and switching? How do your customers feel about what you're doing? If you don't offer it, why not? All these types of things we like to learn about and at least try to provide our advice on what we're hearing from everyone else. And for the most part, what Paco said here is like, don't try to sell it. Like, you shouldn't try to sell this as a little item. I mean, it's not that expensive. It starts at $2 an employee, a month, and then that goes down in volume. So each account that you're handling is on their own pricing tier, but we look at all of the licenses you're managing and give you a big discount across that. So we put them into 3 categories. You start as a Weasley tier, which is up to 500 licenses that you're managing, and you start with a 20% discount on all your licenses. And then as you grow over that to the DD tier, then you're managing anywhere between 500 to 2,000 licenses, and then you get a 25% discount. And then anything above that is our MGC, which is the Mega Gigantic Corp, kind of it's our kind of like a giant corporation like Google, Microsoft of the world in the Curricula universe. It's just called Mega Gigantic Corp. They own everything. So we thought that was a funny way to say the bigger customers and MSPs are MGCs, and they start at a 30% discount on retail. From there, kind of our plan is that once we learn more about you, get you into the system, then we help you set up your first customer and ongoing. So we want to learn not only how to teach you how to be really good at setting up Curricula, but also like build a framework, a template to follow. So we always see kind of like new employee onboarding as something to set up as an assignment in our tool, ongoing awareness training, and then compliance training. Those are typically kind of like templated 3 assignments that we make. And those assignments can be delivered out to different audiences depending on how you set it up in our tool. But we help you set all those things up, show you the ropes, and then we have a team that's here for you. So if you have a tough time getting it in the door, you're talking about how to price it, you're looking at different packages, different things, that's what we're here for. If you need to do webinars with us, you reach out to your CS manager, and we help with anything you need to be successful, because the more successful you guys are, the more successful we are, and the more people we can get to help you, the better. So we're kind of all in it to win. And we're excited because we've done, for the past 6 years, Curricula has been doing only direct sales. And we have been going one-on-one, and we have some pretty good logos and names that you can see on our website that all trust and support and migrated from the other competitors to us for the very reasons that we're talking about today. And we think it's a really exciting opportunity now for MSPs and VARs and virtual CISOs to all be part of this ecosystem and kind of play a role. So that's all it takes to get started. And then our goal is to continue to provide that support as we scale and be transparent on what we do and what we don't do. We're a security awareness and an online education company. We're not a phishing triage company. We're not a appliance company. We don't write Windows software. We don't bundle in with 1,000 other products and services. Like, we are really good at telling stories and teaching people about cybersecurity and other online learning. So that's why people would choose us. We're not a everything to everyone type company.
I love it. And I love your guys' tiered approach, because that's awesome. That's a lot of times what stops people from even getting started is having some sort of a tier where you can, the smallest company can get started with good security awareness training, either for themselves or for, their client base. I do have a question, and this is from the chat. And he says, this is from ProTech Guy. He says, how often does new content come out within the platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we're always building new stuff in general. So there is episodes that are being built all year long on new content. Every time an episode's built, it always gets accompanying like movie posters that go with it. So there are additional content that you can use that are really good visuals that help kind of promote getting engagement inside the episode. We're also building phishing simulations all the time on new, latest and greatest threats, including just tell us whatever you want. There's new products and services being used all the time. So we're feeding those into the system. The other cool thing that our tool has that is actually exciting, that just launched a couple weeks ago, is our tool called the Content Creator. So during the pandemic you talked about, there was all of these companies that are using Curricula for security awareness, and they love it. It integrates, automates, does everything they need to do. And the question was, can I make my own content in your tool? Because I have a bunch of crappy PowerPoints or Google Docs and just stuff that's just scattered. And our answer was always no. Like, we're the only people that can do this. And so what we launched last year with this creator, a couple weeks ago with this creator tool, is the ability to use the same tools that our team uses to create content. So the episodic building tool exposed to our customers now. So every customer can go in, they have a little kind of like a drag and drop, like Wix editor type thing, and you can add content and use the same tools to tell a story of your own. So anything from text information to quizzes to uploading your own videos to, adding in anything you want, choosing our asset libraries from characters and background images and all kinds of stuff, save that, publish it into an assignment, and now that's part of your entire training ecosystem as a customer. It's awesome, that tool, because now your heart's desire can create anything you want using the same format and style of what we do, minus having an in-house creative team.
That is awesome. Very cool. I know, and I want to bring this point up here. This is from Doug Betts. He says, I receive multiple texts, emails, phone calls from clients each week asking, is this legit? And most of them are phishing emails and calls. Some of them call me after a scammer is connected. So this just shows you that this is so prevalent nowadays. And Doug does actually residential users. And I can see for even him that this would be beneficial to help train people on what they need to do instead of calling all the time, because you're always going to get little pop-ups and stuff like that come along the way. So, all right, well, I'll tell you what, Nick, I've had a wonderful time talking with you and getting a lot of the information from Curricula and what it does, and just sharing with Paco and stuff like that and seeing his take on it and stuff. So I really appreciate you coming out. Now, if people want to get a hold of you or get a hold of, Curricula, just go ahead and tell. I know we've talked about it before, but go ahead and tell them again, where could they go to get started today?
Yeah, they can head over to curricula.com/partners, or just click on the partners at the top. And again, you can explore the platform. Just sign up as a partner there if you're an MSP or anyone that wants to be in the channel conversation, even a referral partner. We have a secret agent program, we call it, which is essentially refer people out through the same dashboard and we'll take care of everything. So you might have some customers that want to be part of that. You could also have a hybrid account where you could do both. So check it out there. Our team will give you a tour of the platform, talk through your problems, show you everything, give you access to a demo account, sandbox, watch the episodes, go nuts, because we want everyone to feel comfortable of what they're getting, why we do it, and how it works before they get into any type of, well, let me just throw you on the shelf, and if it's interesting, cool. It's like, you're not going to use it then. So we'd rather you be engaged and actually have a relationship than just be another SKU number on your shelf. So reach out, even if you're just interested and it's timing isn't right, that's cool. Just mark us on the list, and when timing is right, we're always here to help.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you what, definitely check it out. I'm giving it 3 thumbs up if I had 3 thumbs. And go ahead and just do it now. Yeah, exactly. 6 thumbs if we're all on the panel. Anyways, I really appreciate you coming out and sharing with us today. And we've got a lot of links that you had some of your people send over, and we'll definitely have those in the show notes and let everybody know what's going on. But I would just say, yeah, go there now, check it out, because again, there are things that we are good at, people. Security awareness training is not one of them. So find somebody that can actually do the security awareness training for you that makes sense and is going to have that stickiness where your customers are actually going to learn from it and not just be irritated by it. And I think that this is the platform to go with. So definitely check that out. I know I will be checking it out here in the near future, because it has definitely piqued my interest. And I even have residential customers that it's like, yeah, I get the same thing. They call all the time going, hey, most of the time it's, I already clicked on this. Oh, darn it. We get it going. Okay. So we probably need a little training for them, which I think would work out great. So anyways, all right. Paco, if people want to find out more about you and where you're at, where would they go?
Oh, Jeff, they can tune into this fine programming every Friday at 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern, or they can find me over at TechCon Unplugged, September 17th to the 19th at techconunplugged.com.
That's right. TechCon Unplugged. Be there or be square. See, another old saying.
Oh, right. You can even say it's the bee's knees, Jeff. You can say it's the bee's knees.
Oh, man. All right. So anyways, I appreciate that. And it's been great today. If you want to watch live or hang out in the chat room like we've had several people do today, go over to youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. and hit that subscribe and notification button. That's what all the kids are doing nowadays. So go ahead and do that, and you'll never miss an episode. It'll let you know when we're going live. And even ahead of time, it'll give you a heads up, because I usually have these a few days in advance. So you can also, if you are a regular podcast user, you can use your favorite podcasting app, whatever that is, on your Apple device, Android device, device of your choice. Zoom, I wish. Yeah. If you guys don't know what that is, Zoom, just look it up. Anyways, you can use your favorite podcasting app to take us with you wherever you go. When you're washing the dishes, when you're mowing the lawn, when you're driving to a client, it'll be there for you. We'll be in your ear and hopefully give you some entertaining and good information that will help you in your business. And it's not just time wasted, listening to tunes, which, sometimes that's fun. But anyways, education is always good. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.